Hey, hi, I'm on 25th and State, and this is young man. He is butt naked. He has been beaten up. He is very bruised up. He can't stand. He's study fall out. He is butt naked. He has no clothes on. He was really hurt. And I ain't got no cord on him. I just seen him, and he needs some help.
Where is he at?
On 25th and State, the corner of 25th.
On May 27, 1991, a naked boy crawled onto the streets of Milwaukee. He was found by three passers-by, Sandra Smith, Nicole Childress, and Tina Spivey, who promptly called 911. Smith was only 17. Childress was 18. They were extremely concerned for the boy's welfare. He appeared to be bleeding from the rectum, and he was unable to speak clear English. Before police were able to arrive, however, a 30-year-old man approached the women. His name was Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer claimed the boy was actually 19 years old and had gotten drunk. He claimed the boy was his friend and attempted to lead him back to his apartment. The women stopped him. Then two police officers arrived at the scene, John Balsarazak and Joseph Gabrish. Dahmer repeated his lies to the officers. He claimed the boy was his 19-year-old boyfriend, John Hamung. He said that Hamung had drank too much following an argument, and that he often acted like this when drunk. One of the women tried to tell police that the boy was bleeding from the rectum. She was told to, quote, "Shut the hell up." The officers believed Dahmer. The boy was covered in a towel and escorted back to Dahmer's apartment. To prove to the officers that the two were indeed lovers, Dahmer showed them two semi-nude Polaroids of the boy. They noticed the foul smell, but only took a cursory look around his apartment. One officer, quote, peeked his head around the bedroom, but didn't really take a good look. The officers shortly left, leaving Dahmer alone with the boy. They radioed in to say,
The intoxicated Asian naked male was returned to his sober boyfriend, and we're at 8.
The incident was recorded as a domestic dispute. However, this boy's name was not John Hamung. His name was Konerak sinthasomphone. He was not 19 years old. He was 14. He was not drunk. He had been given sleeping pills. A hole had been drilled in his head, through which Dahmer poured hydrochloric acid into his frontal lobe. The Polaroids Dahmer showed police had only been taken the previous night. Dahmer and sinthasomphone had met for the first time on that occasion, and Dahmer offered sinthasomphone money to come to his apartment and pose for photographs. However, coincidentally, sinthasomphon's older brother had been molested by Dahmer in the past. Had police checked Dahmer's record, they would have known he was a registered child sex offender. Had police looked more thoroughly through his apartment, they would have known the foul smell came from a corpse on his bedroom floor. Had police known a Laotian boy had gone missing the previous day, perhaps they would have recognized Konerak's sinthasomphone. Instead, they left a 14-year-old in the hands of a monster. The moment the two officers left, Dahmer injected more hydrochloric acid into sinthasomphon's brain. This immediately killed him. 14-year-old Konerak sinthasomphone was dead. Dahmer took a day off from his job at Ambrosia Chocolate Factory the following day in order to dismember sinthasomphone and his previous victim, who still laid rotting on his bedroom floor. Sinthasomphone was not Dahmer's second victim, however, but his 13th. Dahmer had killed several men across the previous 3 years. He did not approach these men with a concrete intent of killing them, however. Instead, he was attempting to create the ideal sex slave. He used various drugs on his victims and injected various liquids into their skulls, hoping to keep them alive, but in a catatonic state. Later that day, Glenda Cleveland, the mother of Sandra Smith, called 911. She recognized Symphosomphone's description. Her sons had played with him in the past.
The intoxicated boyfriend of another boyfriend.
Well, how old was this child?
It wasn't a child, it was an adult.
Police did not listen to her, nor take the names of the witnesses. After this incident, Dahmer would go on to claim several more victims. 20-year-old Matt Turner, whom Dahmer invited to his apartment for a photo shoot, was drugged before being strangled to death on June 30th. He was never reported missing. 23-year-old Jeremiah Weinberg, whom Dahmer met at a Chicago bar and promised to spend the weekend with, had boiling water injected into his skull twice on June 5th. He fell into a coma and died 2 days later. 24-year-old Oliver Lacey entered Dahmer's apartment under the pretense of posing for nude photographs on July 15th, before he was drugged by Dahmer. Dahmer, hoping to leave Lacey alive for a longer time than his previous victims, requested a day off from work. He then strangled Lacey to death. 4 days later, Dahmer received a call from Ambrosia Chocolate Factory, letting him know he had been fired. Dahmer would then lure 25-year-old Joseph Breithoft into his apartment. Breithoft was strangled and left to decompose in Dahmer's bed for 2 days. Breithoft would be Dahmer's last victim. Arguably, it would be Dahmer's own negligence that led to his downfall. He had gotten cocky. On July 22, 1991, he offered Tracy Edwards and 2 of his friends $100 to come to his apartment to pose for nude photographs and drink beer with him. Edwards' friends declined, but he accepted. After some small talk between the two, Dahmer placed a handcuff on Edwards' wrist, and at one point, Dahmer held a knife against Edwards' chest. Edwards, however, was able to de-escalate the situation. He repeatedly insisted that he was Dahmer's friend, and that he was not going to run away. Edwards had already decided that he was going to run away. He knew the front door was unlocked. He said he needed to go to the bathroom. Dahmer refused. He then asked if he could have some beers with him in the living room, where there was air conditioning. Strangely, but miraculously, Dahmer accepted, and the two sat down together on the couch. Edwards waited until he noticed Dahmer having a quick lapse of judgment, then asked again if he could go to the bathroom. Standing up, he realized Dahmer had let go of the handcuffs. He saw the opportunity, punched Dahmer in the face, and bolted out of the door. He soon found 2 Milwaukee police, Robert Roth and Rolf Mueller. Thankfully, these officers were much more competent. They were unable to remove Edwards' handcuffs, but more importantly, they believed him. Edwards led the officers to Dahmer's apartment. Calmly, Dahmer invited the 3 inside. Dahmer took them to his bedside dresser, in which he had kept the key. Dahmer attempted to retrieve the key himself, but Rolf promptly told him to back off. In the corner of his eye, Mueller saw an open drawer filled with Polaroids. Several of the pictures were of mutilated corpses. The decor in the photos matched that of the apartment they were standing in. Mueller took the photos into the living room to show his partner. "These are for real," he said. Dahmer, seeing Mueller holding his photographs, immediately knew he had been caught. He attempted to fight the officers, but he was swiftly overpowered. His hands were handcuffed behind his back, and a second squad car was called for backup. Edwards told the officers Dahmer had claimed there was something you would not believe in the fridge. Mueller then opened the door. On the bottom shelf was a severed head. Dahmer confessed to the murders of 16 men between the years 1998 and 1991. He also admitted to possibly killing another man, but he had no recollection of what had happened that night. He had merely awoken with a corpse underneath him. Yet this brings up a natural question. How on earth had Dahmer gone undetected for so long? For allowing such injustice, officers Balsarazak and Gabrish lost their jobs. However, they both appealed their terminations. Judge Robert J. Parents was chosen to preside over the appeal, as he had dealt with a similar case in 1981, and furthermore, he did not reside in Milwaukee. He was viewed as an unbiased judge. Parents believed what happened was extremely unfair. He believed the officers should have been suspended for a maximum of 60 days. In 1994, both officers were reinstated. John Balsarazak went on to serve as the president of the Milwaukee Police Union from 2005 to 2009, and retired from the service in 2017. Again, why did this happen? If sinthasomphone was taken to hospital, he could have lived. At the very least, his family would have been able to say goodbye. These were the witnesses. These were the officers. These were the victims. You can make your own